Welcome back to the channel, YouTube world. This is another sit-down rant about the news, about YouTube, about what's been trending. I know that most of my videos are about video games, but like I've mentioned before, one of the types of videos I actually enjoy making more than that, believe it or not, are just these. So, when it comes to things like James Charles, ProJared, who's not as popular as James Charles, but he's a pretty big YouTuber who does video games. With all the controversy that's been surrounding them, and they both started having their things happening about a week ago now, and I'm kind of late to the party, and that's okay. Because what I want to talk about today, and I don't know if this video is going to be 2 minutes long or if it's going to be 2 hours long. Things like that, things like Keemstar with drama alert, your PewDiePies, and all that kind of stuff, your Logan Pauls. What is it with all, not all, but all of the ones that I've mentioned, and others I'm sure, that are big YouTube celebrities, why do they all eventually come under fire with some pretty nasty stuff? And what should YouTube do about it? Should YouTube, which they have in some instances done stuff, at what point do you cancel the channel and say, you know what, enough is enough, repeated behavior, it's done? So let's talk about, let's recap a little bit on old news, the whole Logan Paul thing. We all know about the whole thing where he went, I think it was to Japan, and you know, he went out on a trip, because I'm doing this all off the top of my head, and I haven't read the story in a long time. The whole thing where he was in the woods, and there was people that had committed suicide, and he was, making fun of it, and then he was dressed up as some weirdo, I think it was, and he was throwing, Pokemon balls at people on bicycles, and just really, you know, stupid things. And then he apologized, and then I think for 18 days his channel got demonetized. Which I think is fair where he got demonetized, because that's like a penalty for something stupid that you really did. Now, he was poking fun, and that's like a different level of severity, let's say, compared to, you know, let's say raping someone or doxing someone or falsely accusing someone of being a child molester or like a pedophile like Keemstar has done on multiple accounts. And I don't care if you're a Keemstar fan. I think he's pure trash, and that I will say is pure trash. Logan Paul, I don't know enough about, but from what I've seen, sometimes I can pick up a vibe from someone, and I can kind of go, is this guy sincere? Is there repeated behavior? Is this guy just a real goofball, or is there hope for this guy? When it comes to Keemstar, I don't think there is hope. I think he has a dark heart. I think he's a racist piece of trash, and it's not a funny joke, because I remember someone on Twitter tweeted to Keemstar and says, you know, your character, because Keemstar plays a character, and he said, you know, your character's kind of racist, and he goes, well, when you're trolling people, you know, that's what you do. You do things to get underneath people's skin. Here's the thing, though, you don't use racism for trolling. That's absolutely disgusting. So whether or not Keemstar in his heart is racist, at his core, does he hate people of color? Well, that we don't know what his heart is. We can only go by his actions and what comes out of his mouth, right? So for him, I think his channel did get closed, but he's got the drama alert one. Then he's on Twitter, and he just talks a lot of stupid stuff and says that mental illness and things with social anxiety and all that, which I suffer tremendously from, just generalized anxiety in general, never mind the social, just in general. But then the social part becomes worse, because I don't want people to notice me if I'm having an anxiety attack, so that makes it worse. So then I do fear the crowds, so I do have, you know, that type of anxiety as well. He says it's all bullshit, just so that pharmaceutical companies can make money. So that's another reason why when it comes to Keemstar, I'm just like, you know what, you're pure trash. And if you happen to watch this one day, I've come at you on your Twitter, and I've told you that. I've told you multiple times why I think you're trash, instead of just, you know, bad-mouthing you. And the guy needs an attitude adjustment, big time. When it comes to Logan Paul, I will give him the benefit of the doubt that even though there's been a few instances where he seems like he's really goofed up, I had no idea who he was before the whole Pokemon throwing balls at people and poking the fun at the people with that had committed suicide in the forest there. I didn't know who he was before. Now, I'm not saying that as an insult, insinuating that he's a nobody, because clearly he's going to be a million times more than whatever I'm ever going to be, and that's okay. He's very successful at what he does, but I do get that vibe that deep down inside he's not a terrible person, and I could be wrong about this. But what should YouTube do with the extremes? Should channels be closed or have longer suspensions? This and it's kind of like a case-by-case basis, and now we could talk about PewDiePie for a bit, who I'm not going to lie, I am a fan of, but I'm not a fan of some of the stuff that he said. But in life, I think we all say and do really stupid shit. I really do. And to different degrees. I myself have said some stupid things, and I've done some stupid things, but I've admitted to them, and I didn't repeat the behavior. Now, when it comes to PewDiePie, he seems to be a little bit of an interesting case, because there was that time where he went off and screamed out the N-word and then said, I didn't mean that in a bad way, and then, there was some weird stuff, which I don't know too much about, because I didn't look too much into it, about him allegedly supporting a white supremacist group or something like that, or promoting their channel, I don't remember. I've watched a lot of his content, and I'll be honest, at first, I didn't like PewDiePie. I thought he was a goofball. I thought he was annoying. I didn't think he was a bad person. I just thought he was really annoying, and I was like, how is this guy the YouTube king? Who in the blue hell wants to subscribe and watch a guy like that? Me. A little later, because I started, again, digging into his content a little bit more, and he kind of reminded me a little bit about me in the sense of I like acting silly and goofy, and I do a lot of that kind of stuff sometimes on Twitter, where I'll just do some crazy back and forth banter, kind of like wrestling promo style, and I just like having a good fun and acting a little bit silly. That's just a part of my personality. I'm not always serious. And in my YouTube videos, I don't get to showcase my other side, my true side, where I like to be. I'd like to think sometimes I can be entertaining. I don't claim to be funny, but I like to try to be, and that's okay. It actually really helps me with my anxiety, my depression and stuff like that, to just be able to get things off my chest. I don't exactly have friends that I sit down and hang out with. I don't really socialize with people, and whatever. So when I get to come on YouTube, flick on the camera, turn on the microphone, and I can just open my mouth and flap it 100 miles an hour and talk quicker than my brain can keep up with, for me, it's actually very therapeutic. I got a little off track. So I do like trying to be silly sometimes, and like I said, I saw that in PewDiePie, where he can be quite serious, and when he's talking and he's serious, he's not messing around there. And I like seeing a serious side to a person, or a lighter side to a person who's always serious, kind of like a balance. And I find PewDiePie does that very well. I mean, his numbers speak for themselves to a certain degree. And I say that because when it comes to Keemstar, which I've gone on off about, I just feel like even though you're really popular and you're super successful, that doesn't necessarily mean you're a good person. There are groups out there in the world, I don't need to mention names, and they have a huge following, but that doesn't mean they're good people. Just because you're popular doesn't mean you're good. That's it. Doesn't mean you're good. You could be bad. And so when it comes to the whole James Charles thing, which I kind of got sidetracked off a lot, and the whole ProJared thing, what should YouTube do with these people? Now, with ProJared and James Charles, it's a little bit different, because I say allegedly because I wasn't there, and I try to give people the benefit of the doubt, although there seems to be apparently some evidence pointing towards James Charles that he's sexually assaulted people, tried to turn or trick straight men into thinking they're gay. Not that I know how that would work, but that's not the point, and I don't think it's funny what he's done if it's true. So to someone like that, and then a lot of people unsubscribed to him. I had, again, no offense, never heard of him until he came under controversy, but I'm also not into beauty. I mean, look at me. I don't have hair. Hell, I don't even have eyebrows. Okay? Like, I am not a pretty boy. There's no makeup or lighting in the world that can make me look like a beauty queen. Okay? There's just none of that. So, when it comes to him, something serious like that, serious allegations, should YouTube potentially cancel their channel permanently, even if they didn't violate the TOS, terms of service? Yeah, the TOS on YouTube itself. So even though he didn't like post a video on, like, let's say sexually assaulting someone, but it's alleged that he didn't, and let's say there was proof, should YouTube be like, yeah, we don't want that kind of person representing us, we don't want him monetized? This is absolutely disgusting. At what point do they step in and say enough is enough? This is, you know, aberrant? Is that the word? I'm French, so that's, English is my second language. Even though I speak it more than French, that's not the point. There's still some words I forget what they mean sometimes. But that type of behavior, should it just be like unaccepted, of course, on YouTube, even though it wasn't done there, and just, you're gone. Same thing with ProJared. Now, apparently with him, there's a little bit more solid proof that apparently he did solicit underage boys. Which brings me to my next point. Just because ProJared, I think he's bisexual because he was married to a girl, but he did stuff with underage boys, online at least. And then you've got James Charles, who's gay. There was some things that were said online, and I'm not going to name any names because I don't think they meant to say it, but they showed a picture of ProJared sitting on a chair, and he was cross-dressed, dressed as a woman, and said, are you really surprised with a guy that looks like this, that he did what he did? And I think that is wrong too, because now we're insinuating that just because you're gay, or you cross-dress, or you have some sexuality differences from the norm of what's accepted in society, doesn't mean that you are more likely to be a sexual predator. So, and I'm not saying that that's what some of these people were really insinuating, but it kind of came across the wrong way. I think it's because it's a little off-putting because you see ProJared all like nicely dressed in the shirt, and he's like slim and, you know, well-groomed, and then out of nowhere, I think we saw him with like a wig and his legs were spread open and he had like a skirt and some makeup on or something, I don't know. But yeah, for that split second, I'm like, oh, wow, you know, because I didn't know he was like that. But straight or not, you could still be a sexual predator. I mean, there was a guy in Canada who was a serial rapist, and he was straight, and he would drug women, and then he would record it with his cell phone, and he had all this at his home. And then he beat his girlfriend so bad that the baby died. So I don't think sexuality has anything to do with it. So I wanted to clear that up and say, you know, shame on people who think that gay people are more likely to prey on underage kids. I think it's like equal. Regardless of what your sexuality is, I think that, you know, like proportionately, the ratio is about the same. And even if it isn't, you can't just judge someone and say, oh, he's gay, he could be higher risk of molesting my kid. Like, I think that's an absolute terrible thought to have in your head. But when it comes to that, like I said, if they find out, and again, he's lost like hundreds of thousands of subscribers, and he's still like, you know, up there in terms of subscriber count. I think he's still in like the low 800,000s, just like James Charles is still up there in the millions, and the same thing obviously with PewDiePie, who's going to hit 100 million. But of all the guys that I've mentioned, let me see if I can remember this off the top of my head, because as you can see right now live, there is no cutting, there's no editing. I don't have notes written anywhere on a piece of paper. This is just flapping my gums off the top of my head. We talked about ProJared a little bit. We talked about James Charles a little bit. We talked about Keemstar, PewDiePie, and Logan Paul. Yes, those people. All big, successful YouTubers, all of which I have conflicting and mixed feelings about. Some that I feel just did and said some stupid things and are better than what we've seen of them. And then some others that I feel are just absolute like... So like the whole James Charles thing with the feud with Tati, I think her name is. I didn't know who she was either because, again, I'm not into makeup, so she never came up in my related searches. But she seems like a good person. It seems like she got trashed. It seems like she helped James Charles kind of like get into things when he was like really young, which he's still really young. I think he's only in his early 20s. And she has like her own line, Halo Vitamins or something like that. Again, this is all off the top of my head, and I've only researched this very briefly. And then it seems like he apparently kind of trashed her products, was saying that he was going to support her and kind of like promote her products, but instead trashed them or came up with his own vitamins or something like that. And it was like a huge slap in the face to her. Now, that wouldn't warrant, obviously, closing down his channel or having it demonetized or anything like that. That's just a dick move, don't get me wrong, but it's the whole sexual assault allegations that are like very serious. So with all this rambling, you now know where I stand with these people. I'm indifferent with Logan Paul. I do think that he's capable of being a better person than what he's done on a few occasions. And even though I do support PewDiePie, again, I had people back in the day, a couple of years ago, when he, had done the N-rant word, and he's like, oops, sorry, and then he apologized and all that, and it felt very sincere. Whereas someone like Keemstar, again, as you could probably tell, he's probably my least favorite of the bunch when it comes to attitude. Obviously, ProJared and James Charles, if those sexual things are true, that's absolutely disgusting. But in terms of just having a nasty attitude, and we also haven't seen their side of the story much, although James Charles, I do think, issued an apology video where he unmakeuped himself, and I think he removed his contact lenses and or whatever, and because that's supposed to like make it more neutral or something. I don't know what the point was of that, because he's usually always like decked up with makeup and all that. But in terms of attitude, Keemstar isn't someone I think that can redeem himself, because time and time again, like I said, he's doxed people. He's just falsely accused people. That's what his whole thing is about. But he's got a huge following. There's no doubt the guy is very successful. And I think he had his channel shut down. I still have to look into that because I couldn't get too much information on it. But when I posted on his Twitter and I said, you're pure trash, this is a guy who's done this, that, and the other thing, and I had a few people that liked what I said, because that's going to be the thing with anything in life that you say. You're going to have people that are for you and people that are against you. And I don't care who's against me, just bring it. I don't give a damn if you're a Keemstar fan. Could really give a crap. But, yeah. What should be done? Because, and one of those people had mentioned that his main channel got shut down because of that. Because he was just like an asshole, basically. So no one needs that. You can state your opinion and stuff and say, I heard this, I heard that. But when you boldly claim, hey, this guy, he's a pedophile, and then you wrongfully accuse him, and I don't even think he apologized because I don't think he gives a damn. What should YouTube do? That was the whole point of this rant, which thank you very much for allowing me to get this off my chest, because I really wanted to make this video. I really did. The $1 million question I would like to see for the few people that may watch this in the comment section down below. We don't have to do a thing, what do you think should be done with Logan Paul, Keemstar, PewDiePie, and all this, and James Charles and ProJared. This isn't about that. Do you believe that if someone does something bad, like just not good, even though it wasn't done on YouTube, should YouTube take a stand and say, we don't support this kind of behavior, whether it's like constant racism, let's say, for example, or sexual assault, and then it's proven that that person did that, even though you don't see it on YouTube, it's in the outside world. Should YouTube step in and have a process where first strike, depending on how severe it is, you get kind of like when you go to court. If you murder someone, up to 25 years, but if it's the first time you do it, you could be paroled within 9 or 10 years. I don't know. Different levels of severity, different levels of punishment, where you get demonetized maybe after the third strike or the second one. Your channel is just absolutely gone. But when it comes to the world of YouTube, this is also the platform that where if someone comes on your channel and leaves foul language and hate in the comment section, you could end up getting in trouble, even though you're not the one that posted the comment, which is absolutely ridiculous. So what do you think YouTube should do? I think, if you care about my stance on it, I think they should demonetize first, and then kind of like watch for repeated behavior. Maybe you're like on a probationary period afterwards, and if you do something within like 3 months or something like that, you're on lockdown 100%, maybe for like 6 months or a year, I don't know. And then maybe like the third time, I'm just kind of like throwing this off the top of my head and out of my ass, maybe the third time is an absolute like, that's it, you're done. And if you were monetized and you were making money, maybe you can plead your case, but it better be a really good one. And even at that. So that is what I'd like to know from you. And if you want, and you like some of the people that I'm not too fond of, like James Charles, if you're a fan of him, or ProJared, or even Keemstar, I'm not going to hate you. You see, people perceive things differently, and maybe they see things in a different light, or they didn't know that he did that, or whatever. Just people interpret things differently. So let me know if you do like Keemstar. Let's say, for example, did you know about these behavioral things that I've mentioned? Did it bother you? Did you just simply forgive him? Do you find he's a better person now? Because I haven't really heard anything too nasty from him as of late. So could he have changed? I don't know. Just let me know what you think down below. First of all, if you liked the video as well, give it a thumbs up. But if you didn't like it, unlike most YouTubers that always say, make sure you smash that like button and subscribe and turn on notification bells. Hey, what if the people don't like you? Right? There is a thumbs down for a reason, because people just might think you're trash. Let me know. You think this is trash? Go ahead, give it a thumbs down. I'm not going to cry. I'm really not going to shed a tear. I'm quite comfortable with myself. I like the videos that I put out, and as long as one other person likes it, even if that ends up being my dog, okay? That's perfectly fine with me. Let me know down below, what should YouTube do? Which type of system should there be in place for things like this? And what do you think about those 5 people that I've mentioned? Or other YouTubers that you may want me to look into to see what I think of them? Who knows? Thank you very much if you managed to listen to this whole thing, which I doubt anybody will. But that's okay. I understand I can't be everybody's cup of tea. Nobody can be everybody's cup of tea. No matter how nice you are, no matter how funny you are, no matter how entertaining or informative you may be, your personality is going to shine. It's going to come out and project into the world. And not everybody's going to like it. So that's okay. Take care, everyone. Even you Keemstar supporters. Shame on you. I'll see you all in the next video. Bye now.